Have you ever dreamed of owning a house in the United States? Maybe you've seen those massive Texas homes online and thought, wow, I could really live like a king there. Well, I decided to find out for myself. I tried to buy a house in Texas, and let me tell you, the process was absolutely insane. From bidding wars to paperwork mountains, here's what really happens when you try to become a homeowner in the Lone Star State as a newcomer from Europe. Let's start with why Texas. For Europeans moving to the US, Texas is one of the most popular destinations. The houses are huge, the cost of living is lower than on the coasts, and there's no state income tax. Plus, you get that famous Southern hospitality. But is it really as easy as it looks to buy a house here? First, I started by browsing listings online. Websites like Zillow and Realtor.com are packed with options. I saw sprawling ranch-style homes, modern new builds, and classic brick houses, some for less than the price of a tiny flat in London or Paris. It seemed almost too good to be true, but then reality hit. The first thing I learned is that the Texas housing market is hot. Homes sell fast, sometimes within days or even hours of listing. I found a house I liked, called the agent, and by the time I got a reply, it was already under contract. This happened more than once. If you see something you love, you have to move quickly. Next, I had to figure out financing. As a newcomer, I didn't have a US credit history. In Europe, banks look at your income and savings, but in the US, your credit score is everything. Without a good credit score, getting a mortgage is tough. Some banks offer foreign national loans, but they often require a bigger down payment, sometimes 20% or even 30% of the purchase price. I started gathering documents, proof of income, bank statements, tax returns, letters from my employer, and even a letter explaining why I wanted to buy in Texas. The paperwork felt endless. Every time I thought I had everything, the bank would ask for something else. Once I was pre-approved for a mortgage, I started working with a real estate agent. In Texas, agents are everywhere, and most buyers use one. The good news is, as a buyer, you usually don't pay the agent's commission. The seller does. My agent helped me find homes that fit my budget and needs and set up viewings. The first time I toured a Texas house, I was blown away. In Europe, space is a luxury. In Texas, even modest homes have huge living rooms, big kitchens, and backyards big enough for a football match. Walk-in closets, double garages, massive master bathrooms. It was like something out of a movie. But then came the competition. Every house I liked had multiple offers. I'd make an offer, only to be outbid by someone paying cash or waiving all inspections. In one case, a house had 15 offers in a single weekend. My agent told me this was normal in popular cities like Austin, Dallas, and Houston. After several failed attempts, I finally had an offer accepted. That's when the real work began. First, I had to pay earnest money, a deposit to show I was serious. Then, the inspection started. In Texas, you can and should pay for a home inspection to check for problems like foundation cracks, roof leaks, or termite damage. The inspector spent nearly 3 hours checking every detail. Luckily, there were only minor issues. Then, there was the appraisal. The bank sent an appraiser to make sure the house was worth what I was paying. If the appraisal came in low, I'd have to pay the difference or renegotiate with the seller. Thankfully, the numbers matched, but the paperwork didn't stop. I had to provide more documents to the bank, sign disclosures, and review pages and pages of legal forms. The title company checked to make sure there were no issues with the ownership history. I had to buy homeowners insurance, set up utilities, and even arrange pest control because, yes, Texas has bugs. Finally, after what felt like a marathon, it was time for closing. In the US, closing is the big day when you sign all the documents and get the keys. I sat in a room with the seller, the agents, a notary, and a stack of paperwork as thick as a novel. I signed my name more times than I can count. And then, just like that, I was a homeowner in Texas. I walked into my new house, looked at the empty rooms, and realized I'd made it. The journey was stressful, expensive, and full of surprises, but it was also exciting and rewarding. Here are the biggest surprises I faced. Speed is everything. Good homes sell fast. If you see something you like, be ready to act immediately. Credit history matters. Without a US credit score, getting a mortgage is hard and usually more expensive. Hidden costs add up. Inspections, appraisals, insurance, property taxes, and closing costs can add thousands to your budget. The paperwork is endless. Be ready to provide documents, answer questions, and sign forms at every step. Negotiation is normal. Don't be afraid to negotiate on price, repairs, or even who pays for closing costs. If you're thinking about buying a house in Texas, here are my top tips. Start building your US credit as soon as possible. Even getting a secured credit card can help. Work with a real estate agent who understands international buyers. Get pre-approved for a mortgage before you start house hunting. Budget for more than just the purchase price. Closing costs can be 2 to 5% of the price. Don't skip the inspection, it can save you from expensive surprises later. And finally, enjoy the process. Buying a house in Texas isn't easy, but it's an adventure. You'll learn a lot about the US, about real estate, and about yourself. So, was it worth it? Absolutely. I have a home I love, in a place full of opportunity, and a story I'll never forget. If you have questions about buying a house in the US or want to see more behind the scenes of American life, drop a comment below and don't forget to subscribe for more real stories and tips about moving to the United States. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.